Hey everybody, welcome back to another Deck Profile Friday. I'm going to be going over a list that, I've actually been playing at my local league for a while, for not too long. I've had maybe about 6 games with it, and just kind of how well it's been performing, and, my thoughts of it on, on how well it's doing in the current meta, as well as whether or not I'd recommend a deck like this to a person who wants to play with currently everything that's going on. And yeah, let's get into it. So we are playing Arceus Flying Pikachu with obviously Bibarel, and then a 1/1 tech of Espeon VMax. So to start, we got 3 Arceus VStar, and then 4 Arceus V. This is the bread and butter of the deck, the backbone, right? Arceus is a monster. The V there, awesome card. Everything is pretty much average with it in terms of HP, retreat, resistance, and weakness. Its attack there, its first attack is, the best part about it. Trinity Charge, search your deck for up to 3 basic energies and attach them to your Pokemon V, which is absolutely cool. Power Edge there for 3, it does 130. But it's mainly there to evolve in the Arceus VStar, which has boosted HP from 220 to 280. 2 retreat, no resistance, and the same weakness. And then its attack there is absolutely awesome. Trinity Nova. It does 200 damage for 3 energy. And then you search your deck for up to 3 basic energy cards and attach them to your Pokemon V. So this is great at powering up things like another Arceus or a Flying Pikachu. And then its ability there, Starbirth. It's pretty much a double computer search with no discard. Search your deck for any 2 cards and put them into your hand. It's absolutely awesome. And it's probably the best V-Star power in the game currently, even with Lugia, in my opinion. This card will probably never be duplicated again to have an ability like that. And that is the main attacker. So now on to the attack, or I guess the support attackers. So we have 2 Flying Pikachu VMax, and then 2 of the Vs, right? So a couple cool things with this. They both have free retreat, which is awesome. The V is actually a little bit weaker than normal, which is kind of crappy, but it's very similar to like Mew in terms of like its frailty in the game. Its attack there, Thundershock. For 1, it does 30 or 20. Flip a coin if heads, they're paralyzed. And then Fly. For 3 colorless, it does 120. Flip a coin if tails, this attack does nothing if heads. During your opponent's next turn, prevent all damage from and effects of attacks done to this Pokemon. So it's completely just walls everything on a coin flip. You either hit it or you miss. Right, and it actually deals a substantial amount of damage. And keep in mind they're both lightning type, which means it's good against things like Palkia and Lugia, the more important deck right now. And then the same thing with the VMax there, lightning type again. Same retreat, weakness, and resistance. It does, however, only have 1 attack and max balloon. And this attack is extremely good right now. For a lightning and 2 colorless, it does 160. And then during your opponent's next turn, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from basic Pokemon. So this is great. This is great against things like Meloetta, and the Mew VMax deck, right? It's great against things like, Radiant Charizard, which is obviously in the Lugia deck. It's great against things like Raikou that's being teched, the Raikou V and the Amazing Rare one. It's great against things like the Reggies, right? It's great against, obviously Palkia with the typing. Great against anything in the Lost Zone box, so Cramorant there, right? It's just a really good card right now, and I'm surprised that this deck does not see a lot of play. And then so that's it for that. And then we have the obviously the Bibarel line, 2 Bibarel, and then 2 Bidoof. Both are actually really good. Bibarel there, obviously there for industrious incisors. Draw cards until you have 5 in your hand. I think this is going to be a staple card moving forward. I'm so glad, I got 2 full play sets, 8 copies of that card, right? I might have to get more if they, if it's going to be used in every deck. And, I might have to get another 8 copies just for all my decks. But, yeah, these 2 are the best. This is the best combination of the Bibarel line to run. So, yeah, play these. And then we have, like I mentioned earlier, our Tech Attacker in Espeon VMax. Right, so Espeon VMax is pretty interesting. 200 HP on the V. Retreat cost of 1, which it's kind of surprising because it's a fairly fast Pokemon. Resistance to fighting -30 and weakness to dark, which is a fairly good weakness to have right now. Yeah, as I think the only dark right now that's being played is obviously Amazing Rare Evital, and the Eternatus VMax and the Galarian Weezing. From Rebel Clash there, Shining Fates. Its first attack there, right, for a Psychic Zen Shot, this attack does 60 to one of your opponent's Pokemon V. So 60 snipe anywhere, that's alright. It's also, it includes weakness if they're active, right, and they have the Psychic weakness, so like if it's anything fighting. So, like, if you're playing up against, like, Urshifu, I was playing an Urshifu actually yesterday with this, and I 2-hitted KO the V with just with Zen Shot there. So that was pretty cool. And then its second attack there, Super Psybolt for a Psychic and 2 colorless. It does 120, right? And yeah. And then the VMAX, so 310 HP, 2 retreat, which is, I don't know why this is at 2 retreat. They upped it, by 1, because it's a VMAX, and it's crazy because it's a really fast Pokemon in the game. Resistance to fighting -30, and then weakness to dark. Its ability there, Solar Revelation, prevent all effects of attacks from your opponent's Pokemon done to all of your Pokemon. So this is great. This is great against things like Amazing Rare Evital, right? This is great against things like Giratina V-Star's Lost Requiem, right? Or Sableye's Lost Mine, right? They can't use those attacks that just say knock it out or place these damage counters, right? It's incredibly good. And then its attack there for a Psychic and 2 colorless, Max Mindstorm. This attack does 60 damage for each energy attached to all of your opponent's Pokemon. So this is great against things that get a ton of energy in play, like Palkia or Lugia, right? And the Lugia player, they might be aware of this if you show them any psychic energies, right? Same thing with the Palkia, which is kind of why, you want to kind of spring this on them, maybe later in the game, right? Like mid to late game, because when they have all their energy in play, that's when you want to drop the Espeon V and then kind of think about charging it up, right? And then using the Espeon VMax as, you know, a way to knock out their Pokemon, right? And by doing that, you're going to reduce the energy in play, and then you just use, you know, another attacker for the rest of the game. So Arceus or Flying Pika, right? That's kind of how I would do it, because I think this card, you know, it decreases its value in late game in terms of attacking, unless you just want to have it for the ability and just let it camp out right on the bench. Then you could do that too. But yeah, that is Espeon VMax. And then lastly, the singles. We have a Crobat V. We have a Drapion V. We have a Lumineon V. And our Radiant is Radiant Gardevoir. So Crobat there, obviously for the dark assets, right? Draw till they have 6 cards in the hands. No attacking with it either. Drapion V is obviously there for the Mew matchup, right? As you're able to one-hit KO that Mew VMax with Dynamic Tail. Lumineon there with searches out any supporter with Luminous Sign, which is awesome. And then Radiant Gardevoir reduces damage done by attacks by 20 damage to your Pokemon V, which is really awesome. And that is it for the Pokemon. Now we're on to the trainers. The trainer lineup is actually pretty simple. There wasn't really a whole lot that changed, right, between you know, I guess the Worlds deck, right, and you know, the Silver Tempest release, right? So it had Lost Origin release, it had Silver Tempest release, and that's kind of really it. Not really a whole lot of updates, but we do play 4 Boss's Orders for Supporter, 3 Marnie, 3 Professor's Research, 1 Raihan, 1 Roxanne, and then our stadium of choice is Path to the Peak. So Boss's Orders, you know, is a great card. I feel like it's a lot better than Serena, considering the amount of draw that we have. And the reason why is because it can target things that aren't, you know, just V Pokemon, right? So it can target things like Radiant Greninja. It can target Sableye, right? It can target Archeops, right? It does a lot, and you know, we do play 3 Marnie. We do play 3 Professor's Research. Marnie, you know, it's a shuffle your hand, put them on the bottom. You draw 5, your opponent draws 4. Professor's Research, best draw card in the game. Discard your hand, draw 7. We play 3 of each of those, so you know, we don't really need to play Serena, right? You can maybe tack 1 in or 2, right? But I don't think you need to. I think you just rather have the Boss's Orders. Raihan there is a good come from behind card. You know, attach a basic energy from your discard pile to one of your Pokemon. And then if you do, search your deck for any card and put it into your hand. So this is really a half times the Starbirth there, right? You know, a third deck search for any card, right? That's crazy, playing 3 of those. You know, or using 3 of those in any game, like it's so good. Roxanne there, right? If your opponent gets ahead, which you know they likely will, right? You can have them shuffle their hand into their deck. They draw 2 cards. You draw 6, and you combo it with the Stadium, which is Path to the Peak there. Pokemon with their rule blocks, both yours and your opponents, have no abilities. So that's Pokemon V and GX, etc. So this is great because it prevents them from using Crobat, it prevents them from using Lumineon, it prevents them from using Summoning Star, right, or Fusion Strike System. You know, it does a lot. It puts in work. It's the best stadium in the game right now. I've been saying that for a long time. And yeah, good card. So one thing I wanted to mention as well is we don't play the Pumpkaboo. The Pumpkaboo is actually an interesting card to put in here, and the reason why is because it allows you to discard your own stadium, so you can. And the reason why you'd want to do that is because you'd want to Starbirth, and then when you Starbirth, after you do that, you grab another Path to the Peak, and then you put it into play, right? So you break the lock for one turn, or not even one turn, like just during your turn, just so you can use your abilities, and then you ability lock them again, right? And if you're gonna do that, you might want to put in a fourth Path to the Peak, right? Just because I want my stadiums to kind of stick around for a while, right? So, but yeah, that's the supporters and the stadiums. So now we're gonna get into the rest of the trainer cards. Okay. So the rest of the trainer cards that we have is pretty much just all Pokemon search. We have 4 Quick Ball, 4 Ultra Ball. We do have 2 Choice Belts, an Air Balloon, an Evolution Incense, and a Switch. So Quick Ball, discard a card, search for a basic. Ultra Ball, discard 2 cards, search for any Pokemon. Choice Belt, an extra 30 to Pokemon V. Air Balloon, 2 less retreat. Evolution Incense, search for an evolution. And switch your Pokemon, right? So that's really good. You could maybe find room for Big Parasol in here, right? That's an interesting card. Or that Pumpkaboo and Path, right? If you are, I'd maybe cut a Choice Belt, as this is not a one-hit KO deck, right? This is more of a 2-hit KO deck, right? So you just take your time, right, and then kind of plan out how you're gonna knock things out during the course of the game, right? So, and that is the trainer cards. So lastly, we have the energy, and the energy lineup is actually really similar to that of the Worlds deck, right? The only difference is obviously there's no Decidueye, and we do have an Espeon. So we have 5 Lightning Energy, 4 Double Turbo Energy, and then 2 Psychic Energy. So the Lightning, obviously, for the Flying Pika, the Psychic for the Espeon, and then the Double Turbo, is for pretty much everything, as everything requires, practically everything requires 2 colorless in some of their attacks. The Flying Pikachu VMax has 2 colorless, the Espeon V and the VMax has 2 colorless, and then the boy himself, Arceus, has colorless in his attack, so that's why. The downside is you take -20, but like I mentioned, a few minutes ago, is that this is not a one-hit KO deck. It's a 2-hit KO deck, right? You're forcing them to 2-hit KO you, but you're going to be taking 2-hit KOs on them. So unless it's, you're able to hit it for like crazy weakness like Drapion on Mew VMax, right? And that is the deck, everybody. That is Arceus Flying Pikachu VMax with Espeon. So, just with the deck right now, is it really a good play, right? How well would it do? What its kind of matchups like, right? I think it's got a good matchup, like right across the board, right? I think it can definitely beat Mew, obviously with the Drapion, right, and the Path Lock, right, and the Roxanne there as well, right? Palkia, you obviously, like I said, have the Flying Pikachu, right, which knocks it out. You can stop their Star Portal with Path to the Peak, right? Lugia. I think it has a pretty good Lugia matchup as well, obviously with the Flying Pikachu. And then the Espeon to stop the Evital there, right? You hit it for weakness. And then it's really, with all these matches, it's really the deciding factor is who goes first, right? If you go first against all these decks, you should be able to win, right? Because if you're able to second turn Starbirth and grab that path to the peak, right, and the double turbo, and then charge up a Flying Pikachu, right, they have absolutely no choice but to play Dunsparce. Another thing too is that not a lot of lists are playing Dunsparce, right? So if they are, then it's going to be a little bit harder, as you can't hit for weakness. But if they aren't, then the matchup's a heck of a lot easier, because then you can. What else is there? Those really are like the big ones. Lost Box, right? I think this actually does really well against Lost Box, right? Path to the Peak is you don't think it's an important card, but it is, because you're able to cancel their Greninja and their Lumineon, right? And if you're able to get that turn 1, right? Turn 1 or turn 2, like with that Starbirth, then it's crazy, right? You almost don't even need to use like Starbirth in that game. Like if you're just as long as you just need to be able to attack, right? Because you want to shut them down, as early as possible, right? Like, so if you can just Trinity charge with the Arceus V, like if they go first, and so it's your first turn, if you can do that, and then the next turn, right, you go into, Arceus VStar, right? They're having to 3-hit KO an Arceus VStar with a Cramorant, right? 3-hit KO. They may get if you retreat, they may get some help with the Greninja there, but it's going to take them a while. And I think if you can just match, like if you're able to just attack, like right after they attack, then I think he'll just eventually win. Like I think he'll just checkmate him. But, yeah, those are kind of the big decks, the trainer lock decks. I don't really think you'll have too big of an issue with that. So like the Vikavolt there, I don't think you'll have too big of an issue. I don't know. I don't really know what else there is. So, Eternus and the Weezing, I don't think it's as crazy. It's not a comfortable matchup like Lugia or Palkia, right? But I don't think it's like a terrible matchup. Like sure they shut off your abilities, but you can kind of make do with that, right? It's like playing Path to the Peak yourself and not being able to use your own Starbirth. Like you're not crazily dependent on abilities, right? So I think you can get away with it. But yeah, there you go, everybody. That's kind of the big decks to look out for. And yeah, this is the deck, and hopefully you all like it. And once again, if you like what you're hearing and seeing, then like the video and subscribe, as I'm always trying to produce quality content like this on the channel. This is Deck Profile Friday. It happens every Friday for the most part. On Sundays, we have opening Sundays, so I open up a Pokemon TCG product and give my thoughts about it. And then on Wednesdays is Gameplay Wednesdays. It's mostly a Pokemon TCG online, but in the rare occasions, I do have some in-person games, right? And just this last Wednesday, I showed 2 decks from the 2011 format, duking it out, and it was a pretty good game there. So it gives you some insight on that. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the week. So thank you so much for watching, everybody, and thank you for checking out the videos. This year was a pretty good year in 2022, and we're hoping to make it better in 2023. So, and yeah, thank you, and once again, see you in the next video.